Hey everyone, it's Marianne here from Revealing Light Tarot. We're heading into Braidwood, which is en route to Bateman's Bay. Braidwood is a small country town. I'm reliably informed, that the whole town is on the National Trust Register, so that's just how historic it actually is. But we'll take a bit more of a look as we get there. You can see these old buildings here on my right. Very, very old. No wonder it's classified. No wonder the whole town's classified. Heading down the mountain to Bateman's Bay. What's the name of this mountain? The Clyde Mountain. To Bateman's Bay on the south coast of New South Wales. The Clyde Mountain was pretty severely burned out in the fires of December, January 2019, 2020. Of course, that was Australia's first taste of 2020, the year that nobody wanted to experience. Of course, COVID came to our shores. Probably was around in Australia in January, we just didn't know it. But of course, we went into pretty significant lockdowns, in and out of lockdowns throughout 2020 and most of 2021. We've only just come out, and of course, we didn't have equitable access until to vaccines until well, I think I got my first AstraZeneca shot May or June, something like that. So the vaccines were there, but they weren't in big quantities. And so it wasn't until the latter half of 2021 that people could get vaccinated. And of course, we could come out of lockdowns. So there's a lot of greenery around. You can see we've had a lot of rain in the last week to 2 weeks. We now have a La Nina weather pattern here in Australia, which means the weather is sort of like tropical most of the time, even where I live in rural New South Wales. I think you can still see some of the trees which were burned out. The Clyde Mountain was a historical route that connected Braidwood, the town, the historical heritage town, down to the coast. And of course, a lot of produce came up and down the Clyde Mountain as well. It's one of the better preserved roads here where I am from, mainly because a lot of people in the nation's capital, Canberra, use this road to come down to the coast where they have holiday homes. So you get government making good decisions about this road. But as you can see, very heavily forested, I guess you would call it. And you can still see some of those black trunks as a remnant from the fires. For those people who like a kind of windy track down a mountain, here is the footage. It's not the worst mountain that I've come down, but still it's a fairly steep descent. You can see all the ferns growing on the side of the incline here, and you can still see the burnt out trees. It's one of the ways that the Australian bush recovers here is through fire, and in fact it's part of the Aboriginal heritage of this country. They're still in existence today. They're called, I think they're called fire keepers. Anyway, the Aboriginal people burn out the bush, which negates the threat of huge bushfires occurring. So they systematically and regularly burn the bush in order to prevent the kind of fuel load building up that we saw in 2019 and 20. Of Mogo on the south coast of New South Wales. We're going to do a little bit of a browse around this historic town, and then I'm going to take you through some what is, I think, quintessential Australian bushwalking. Mogo is a town, an old gold mining town that was established in the 1860s, mainly through gold miners and timber cutters in this region. Around 1866, they started to build schools, post offices, you know, the kinds of things that a settlement needs, and it thrived for a while. But then, of course, like all towns that are built on, you know, gold and mining, you know, I guess the success of it started to dry up as the gold fields started to run dry. And there was some mining in this area up until the I think the 90s, but the town pretty much fell away in popularity. There were no new settlements. People started to leave the area. Then something occurred most recently. A lot of craftspeople moved down here and established galleries. People from Sydney and cities started to move here and establish cafes. It's on a major highway, which is what you can hear in the background. And all of a sudden, Mogo became this eclectic town that everybody wanted to stop at and have their coffee and a browse through the art galleries. There's even a lolly shop, which you can see behind me, and plenty more tourist traps. They're not tourist traps, but tourist shops. Unfortunately, the town that was and then recovered and then rebuilt and then regenerated was hit by very severely in the 2019-20 bushfires in this area, and some of the scenes coming out of this town were just heartbreaking. From what I can see now, and you'll see when we walk through the bush how the bush regenerates, Mogo is experiencing another comeback. It seems that's what it's known for in its history. But let's get started on our exploration. Okay, seems like Christmas is here in Mogo. That is the lolly shop that I was talking about. There is a gallery next door to me. Doesn't look like it's open. And you can see when I pan around, there's holistic health. There is some kind of fashion outlet there, Indo Direct. It's kind of got a little bit of a indie vibe to it. I can see a wellness sign floating around there. And you can see a very busy highway. That's what I like to see. Saving forests is climate action. The bookstore, the humble bookstore. Thank goodness there's a bookstore still in existence. Not everything is virtual, nor should everything be virtual. In the keeping with the spirit of the town, looks like somebody in agriculture left these behind. They're just on the street. They are at the back of a junkyard, so they're kind of like a, I don't know, bit of a tourist site, I suppose. They're certainly not going anywhere, let's put it like that. But they're very old. This one particularly, goodness knows what that was. And of course then we've got, here we go, antiques, retro, weird stuff and cool junk. Revamp, reuse, upcycle. There you go. This is Mogo. This is what brings the tourists here. Lateral thinking, creativity. Good to see. Hi everybody. Well, we're at the Eurobodalla Heritage, Aboriginal Heritage Bushwalk, and we're about to embark on it. You can see all these trees in the background. Let me just give you a wider shot. You can see them very blackened from the bushfires. I'm really looking forward to this walk because it's got that Aboriginal feel to it. I'm still at the Aboriginal Bush Heritage Walk, and I just wanted to draw some messages. The wind has just sprung up. I'm sitting right by the Sheoaks, and so you'll hear that beautiful whistling kind of wind sound that I grew up with, actually, in the outback. So I have a fondness for them. So channeling the spirits of this area. What are the messages for those that are watching, those that love the earth, love the very, very best in humanity? What are the messages that you want to tell us, impart? What's the wisdom? The wisdom of this place. What is the wisdom of this place that survived these horrendous bushfires? What is the wisdom of this place? What does it have to tell us? So Three of Swords, heartbreak, loss. When the fires came, as ferociously as what they did, they destroyed so much. And I feel the quietness here, the bird life having to be enticed back, it's all symbolic in a way of what was lost. Just like when we experience loss, I feel there is a grieving, but I keep feeling, hearing that there is, after loss, there is a recovery. I've got the Four of Pentacles, and I'm drawn to how and why this might have happened. Around the way that we live. Decisions weren't taken at the time. We're not respecting the old ways, the old wisdom. And sometimes a cleansing is needed as well, because it's time. The King of Cups, nurturing in another way while there was loss. There is this undercurrent, or this flow underneath all of this, of nurturing, benignness. And how do I know that? Because the earth is that way. That is the way of the earth. Causing us to, at the time that I read on the fires, causing us to look at what is occurring in terms of climate change, in terms of our inability, the greed, the Four of Pentacles, the greed of people, and our inability to, even now with COP26, to really get, as we say in Australia, fair income about climate change. We still aren't learning. We made small gains at COP26, but we still haven't got the big picture message. The Eight of Pentacles, a lot of work needing to be done, a skill, some kind of skill here that is needed. And what is the skill that is needed? It is to bring healing, moderation, and balance. And every time I read on climate change, I still get the same cards that tell me the same things, that until we get leadership that actually takes this seriously, including women in positions of power, and we start to get, I'm just seeing the butterflies, we start to get serious about this, then we'll continue to get these type of lessons. The Two of Wands, earth, fruition, something coming to fruition in time. We can be hopeful. We can be hopeful and say that maybe the next generations will get it right, or we can look at this and go, the Creator has the earth in her hands, and that if we don't do something about climate change, it comes to fruition. Something comes. Okay, so just getting back to this reading. At the base of the pack is the Ace of Swords, facing the truth. It's interesting who has dominion here. The Emperor, control. And the Tower. There's pretty clear messages about the bushfires and what happened to this bush and why. Sure, there'll always be fires in the bush. Lightning strikes, fires. But it was the ferocity of these fires, the heat, global warming, the temperatures rising, all of those things combining to make this such a devastating event. And the cards are picking up on that. The spirits of this land are picking up on that. But I still see the butterflies. I still hear the bird life. And so maybe we'll muddle along and then eventually someone gets it right. It's in our hands. You know, I mention Sheoaks all the time. So let's have a look. Casuarina, the Durga name is Billa. The foliage and young cones could be chewed to relieve thirst. Wow, that's probably why they planted them in the outback around the houses. The mat of fallen needle-like foliage under Sheoaks was considered a safe place to leave children, as snakes are said to avoid these areas. Again, why they would plant them around the homesteads. The hardwood of Sheoaks could be made into tools and weapons such as shields, clubs, and boomerangs. No wonder I like them so much. What a wonderful, wonderful tree.